In today's video, we're going to do static electricity, and this is to do with energy and charge. So let's get right into it. First of all, we have friction. So only electrons can move, and a positive charge is a shortage of electrons, and a negative charge is an excess of electrons. Static electricity, or electrostatics, is the build-up of electrical charge in an object without a flow of charge. So think of a balloon, and when you rub it against your head, it builds up static electricity, but you're not putting a current or something through it to create electricity, you're just rubbing it against your head. So, and the forces between charges. Like charges repel and unlike charges attract. So if you think of a magnet, for instance, if you put two magnets together that has the same sides, they will not want to go towards each other. But if you turn the one magnet around, the one is positive and the other one is negative, and then they will connect. They will want to go towards each other, and that is why like charges repel, so they don't want to go towards each other, and unlike charges attract, so they go towards each other. Polarization when a charged object is held near a neutral object, and the neutral object gains a positive and a negative side. This is known as electrical polarization. So static electricity is charges that collect on an object are responsible for the shock when you touch a door or the handle, or the sparks when you take off a jersey, especially when the air is dry. It's very important to be safe, so be careful when filling plastic containers with petrol, and lightning is also a discharge of electrical energy. We're going to jump straight into multiple choice questions for static electricity. So here we go. There are 4 possible answers are given for the following questions, and these are all multiple choice. Each question has only one correct answer. Choose the correct answer and mark the applicable letter with the cross. So I'm going to read the question and then give it a little bit of a pause. You can answer and then you can listen. I will give you the answer, so just listen if you're right. Okay, number 1. Objects acquire charges by A. Friction, B. Electrification, C. Attraction and repulsion, or D. An electroscope. The answer is A. Friction. Number 2. A natural phenomenon that relates to static electricity is A. Thunderclouds, B. Lightning, C. A rainbow, or D. Rain. Yes, B. Lightning. What is the electrical charge of an electron? Is it A. A positive charge, B. A neutral charge, C. A negative charge, or D. It has no charge? Yes, an electron has a negative charge. Number 4. What happens when opposite charges, unlike charges, come close to each other? Number A. They move away from each other. B. They move closer to each other. Or C. They show no response. Or D. They move in opposite directions. It is B. They move closer to each other. So, like a magnet, they move closer to each other if you have 2 different ones facing. Number 5. Which one of the following sketches with description is correct? Now, A has 2 positive ones, and it says it moved towards each other. B is a positive and a negative, and it says it moves away from each other. C is a positive and a negative, and it says no movement. And D has a positive and a negative, and with another positive and a negative, 2 positive and negatives, and it also says no movement. And the only one that is correct is number D, where the 2 positive and negatives have no movement because they're neutral. One word. Give one word or phrase for each of the following descriptions. Number 1. The accumulation of electrical charges on an object without the charges moving is what? Static electricity. So static is still, means still. So just think of it as electrical charges on an object without charges moving. The charges are static, so it's static electricity. Number 2. Flow of static electricity. Flow of static electric charge through a gas, liquid, or a solid. This is called electric discharge. Is the flow of static electric charge through a gas, a liquid, or a solid. Number 3. The particles of an atom that has a negative charge. Name the particle of the atom that has a negative charge. It is the electron. Contextual questions. Number 1. On a dry winter's day, if you scuff your feet across the carpet, you build up a charge and get a shock when you touch a metal doorknob, which is neutral. In a dark room, you can actually see a spark. What is meant by the following words? Explain them. What is 1.1? A charge. A charge is the nature of a particle in terms of how many electrons and protons it has. Number 2. What is neutral? Neutral means that the positive and negative charges are balanced, so there is the same amount of positive and negative charges. 1.3. A spark. So a spark is the visible effect of the movement of charge. So something you can see. It is what you can see from the movement of the charge. 1.4. Is the movement of charge electrons or protons? And give a reason for your answer. So it is the movement of the charge are electrons because protons in the nucleus and they cannot move. It determines the identity of that element. Only the electrons found in the orbitals around the nucleus can move from one object to another. So they can jump around because they're not constricted. They're not in the nucleus itself. 1.5. Why is static electricity more noticeable on dry days? On wet days or in humid air, which are more wet, electrical charges will move more easily and not build up on an object. So they will move around more freely because the water in the air is a conductor of electricity. So it can be said that the charges are leaking. Number 2. A boy sliding down a plastic slide. When he gets to the bottom of the slide, his hair stands in different directions, and this is not due to the wind. So 2.1 is asking, is this an example of current electricity or static electricity? Yes, static electricity. 2.2. As the boy slides down the plastic slide, his body and clothes rub against the plastic. This friction causes particles to be transferred from him to the plastic slide. What is the name of these particles that are being transferred? Yes, the electrons. The electrons can move around because they are not in the nucleus. 2.3. What charge arises on each individual hair? Write only positive or negative. It is positive. 2.4. The boy runs from the slide to a metal play frame. When he makes contact with the play frame, he experiences an electric shock. Choose the correct sentences, like 1, 2, or 3. 1 or 2. To complete the sentence below, when the boy touched the play frame, 1, charges moved from the play frame to the boy. Or number 2, charges moved from the boy to the play frame. So charges moved from the play frame to the boy to make him neutral again. 2.5. Will the boy's hair after he touched the play frame be more or less upright? Only write more or less. Yes, less, because he was discharged, made kind of neutral again. 2.6. If it was cold or a rainy day, would the boy's hair still be upright? That would be a no. 2.7. Name 2 safety measures that you should apply during a thunder. So you can stay indoors or in a vehicle because the vehicle has a rubber wheels, and that will prevent the electricity from coming to you. Do not talk on a landline phone because that is also, you can get some electricity in you. Do not swim or take a bath or the shower because the water can move the electricity. And also don't hide under a tree. The diagram number 3 alongside shows 3 neutral metal spheres, number X, Y, and Z, in contact and on insulating stands. Draw the charge distribution on the spheres when a positively charged rod is brought near sphere X, but does not touch it. Alright, so if you touch the positive side on a neutral, it will become negative. And then the negative transfers over to this one, and will be negative, and 2 negatives together will be a positive, and then the positive will transfer to number Z, and this whole thing would be positive. So 1 positive and 1 negative, and then half a negative and a positive. Number 4. A neutral apparatus is touched by a negatively charged rod. Give the name of the apparatus. It's electroscope. 4.2. What is the charge on the apparatus after the rod is removed? Write only positive, negative, or neutral. It is negative. The charge on the rod is still negative. It will stay negative. Number 5. A learner performs an experiment to determine which objects have static electricity characteristic. A learner uses a balloon, a plastic ruler, and a wooden stick, and the learner rubs each object against a woolen cloth and brings the object closer to a thin stream of water flowing out of a tap. Number 5.1. Why is every object rubbed against the wooden cloth? And that is how he charges the object, not to make it neutral anymore. 5.2. Which factors must be kept constant during the experiment? The water stream. So the water stream must stay constant. 5.3. Name the factor that is changed during the investigation. The object is changed. 5.4. Identify the object that will not have an effect on the stream of water. The wooden stick, because it can't have electricity running through it. Number 6. Consider the 2 following spheres. 6.1. Say if the spheres are positively charged or negatively charged, or neutral, and why. They are negatively charged because the excess of electrons on each sphere. 6.2. Redraw the spheres